Rite of Passage is back and it is better than ever. Starting February 16th this year, you'll get to enter to try and get your chance to make XGS. With just a $50 entry fee, you get direct invite to our round robin stage where it is best of threes for every game, making sure every single chance, every game, every round has the most meaning possible. The best teams in the round robin group stage will make it on to our single elimination playoffs, where they can fight for not only a chance for the lion's share of a $1,000 plus grand prize, but also a chance, a direct invite to the next season of XGS. Signups close February 13th, just 3 days before the event actually starts, so make sure you gather your teammates, friends, and sign up, because this is your chance to make a name in the scene. Are you ready? Find out here.
Deja vu, as Goose is back on your screen once more, and we are back for our final game of the night. They brought in the two of us to do one game, but you know what? It's going to be a fun one. We get TeamSESH, a team that is arguably here to prove the most, up against JJ & Co., a team who is definitely here to prove the least, but have the most fun doing it.
Yeah, I honestly really like this because both teams have so much passion for different reasons. You got TeamSESH double scrimming every day, JJ literally playing for a pro league contract, trying to make sure that his media bonus is boosted as much as possible. I mean, it is really fun, but I do think going into this game, both teams will be trying. I'm really tired of that narrative that JJ & Co. is just simply trolling. While they are, there is still a sense that they are trying.
I'm tired of the narrative that JJ & Co. is trolling. While they are trolling, you gave that story, you gave that up immediately, stood off business as fast as possible. But in terms of JJ & Co., it's just a rotating cast of characters. Different people will show up every week. Different people will end up playing one week versus next week. And, you know, who ends up showing up when and where, just entirely down to, you know, who felt like coming along for an adventure that day. TeamSESH, though, they've got a very stable set 5-player roster, and so I like the idea of like those two playing against each other. I think this is going to be a really good test for Sesh as for whether or not they're going to be prepared for what it takes to beat a team like JJ & Co. This is a team that isn't proven in T2 yet. They're going to have to keep playing qualifiers. Who are you going to be playing in qualifiers? A lot of pug stacks. This is great practice to make sure that you're ready for pug stacks, because the pug stacks probably won't be the very best. They definitely won't be as good as this pug stack of BallSac and Co. As I love the sweatshirt, Badger.
Yeah, I mean, the player I'm looking on here is Kick. So far through the qualifiers and the main stage here, he's been a player that has not really lived up to his expectations. Obviously, he's more known for his stint as a sub in playoffs for Element 6 with Aliax. But his past couple of games, he's really been falling behind. It's not like he's playing horrible, but at the same time, he's not having nearly as much impact that I know a player like him can. That's a player that I'm looking to pop off.
Yeah, you talk about players you look at popping off on the Sesh side. TK has been, you know, on both ends of the spectrum. Game 1, he went 17-10. Game 2, he went, I believe, 1-10. So he's seen it all so far through his first 2 games of the season. And he's seen it all through Tier 3 as well. He's been a long time Tier 4, Tier 3 in-game leader, even making some T2 appearances. And so he'll know how to play against most of these teams. JJ & Co., though, not the kind of team that is easy to deal with, especially since until right now, I couldn't have told you who was playing tonight. And this roster might not even be right because they could switch someone out. JJ, Amty, Satex, Ions, and Rival will be playing this evening.
Yeah, and I really like this because I think it's kind of a thing where it's exactly like JJ's like wager streams, where obviously there's a sense where they're not taking it fully seriously, but they're still developing their skills, especially players like, you know, Amty and Ions, who are still in Tier 2 and Tier 3 trying to prove themselves. I think this is a really good opportunity for Ions to flex his muscles in his IGL role that he's only been on for a couple of months now, and especially under a really good veteran like JJ, he's going to be able to learn a lot and then bring along players. And when I say this, this is not a joke. I did not make this up. This is a quote from JJ himself. Satex is a Twitch viewer he just plays ranked with. So again, it's kind of a sense where you have every side of the spectrum on this roster.
Yeah, Satex is going to get the opportunity this season, unlike any other, to prove to anybody maybe looking for a teammate in comp that he could have what it takes to take over. Kixa on TeamSESH going to know plenty about that. His opportunity during the previous Element season to play with the team now known as Orglis, at the time known as Alix. That kind of got him noticed in a way that maybe he wouldn't have been otherwise. I would imagine that played a part in him being on this SESH roster right now. He may be going up against the very next story of his own in Satex on the BallSac Nation side of things. But with all of that out of the way, we still have yet to decide where we're going to go for the matchup today. Fortress taken off of the board immediately, as if you are a pug stack that isn't scrimming together, you probably don't want to play the map that you guys don't have much comp experience on in the past. However, JJ & Co. not afraid of going to the second newest map in Lair.
Yeah, I mean, this is a map that JJ is very familiar with. He's also had mixed results. I mean, all the way going back to the wildcard restart tournament. I mean, he was just absolutely slamming tier 1 team on this map. And this is a map that he's been able to develop on, even going all the way to his tier 1 stint this past year. So I think this is a playing ground that is very familiar with JJ & Co. But knowing a team like SESH that double scrims every day, this is not an accident. They're bringing themselves to Lair on purpose, especially the fact that they were able to ban the last map.
Yeah, choosing not to go to Bank means that JJ & Co. get to, or BallSac Nation, excuse me. The JJ & Co. logo trips me up a bit. I will keep doing that through the evening. But BallSac Nation gets to choose the start side, and they will opt to start on the defensive side of Lair. Makes a lot of sense, especially given that this map, since its introduction, has been one of the 3 most defender-sided maps in the pool across competitive, up there with Skyscraper and Consulate, 2 maps that I think, in theory, work a lot better for defenders than this map does. I think as Lair still progresses, we will start to see attackers start to manipulate some of the things, and we have began to see that just a little bit. But even still, a lot of narrow hallways like the one we're showing in this exact flyover right now make it very tough for attackers to navigate through. And TeamSESH are going to have to find their way through regardless. And hopefully all those scrim hours will pay off in navigating a map such as this, because the defenders are definitely going to be very comfortable, especially on that second floor. I think if SESH can show any promise in attacking that second floor, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised, because as of right now, my expectation is that JJ & Co. should win that site pretty much for free in rounds 1 and 4.
And this is a big opportunity for JJ & Co. technically is one of our only undefeated teams, with one of the previous matches being a forfeit. They've only technically played in one game that has resulted in a win. That was against SSG Academy, which again, they looked really good. I think this JJ & Co., this BallSac Nation roster, they're not bringing out too many crazy ideas, but at the same time, when they see a setup from SESH and teams like them, very young teams like an SSG Academy, they're going to play very hard, and they're going to force those teams to get space, get those kills. They're not going to be going for, really wacky plays, even sometimes they do. There's still instances where they're holding back. They're forcing the teams to actually make their own state in these maps and in these matches. I think that's something that I really respect out of JJ. He's giving these teams a tough battle. He's not just handing it to them on a platform.
Yeah, already having taken 2 different wins across the season thus far, starting the season off in pretty solid fashion, beating SSGA 7-3, an SSGA team that went on to play Orglis on the exact same map they played BallSac Nation on, and then win that 7-1. So SSGA proving not just to be a good team, but also specifically a good Nighthaven Labs team, but BallSac Nation made very quick work, especially of their defenses. The defensive side that SSGA just went flawless on over Alix, over Orglis in the game just before this one. So really exciting to see just how competitive BallSac Nation have been, putting to bed any rumors that they may not be trying. And of course, SSGA putting to bed any rumors that they're not a good Labs team, because they just destroyed Orglis on it earlier tonight. So plenty to be very excited about. Is not one team really taking that number 1 spot across the season thus far. You would think maybe BallSac Nation have the roster to be able to do it. Unity is the only undefeated team so far, but 2 of their wins had to come in overtime. One of those actually being over SESH 8-7 back in week number 1. SESH so far, though, one of the 2 teams yet to get a win on the board, and they'll look to do their very first tonight against BallSac Nation.
Yeah, I keep saying that we're going to see, upsets. They're best of ones. And aside from the Orgless game we saw today, we haven't really seen it. And I think Sesh is an underdog team. And I've been looking at this roster even from their countless times inside of Tier 4, Tier 3. There are a couple of stints they had in Tier 2 that you talked about in the Swiss stage. It's kind of a roster that I know they have the foundation. I think TK, like you spoke about, he's one of the few like IGLs running around in Tier 3 that is consistently good. You put him on a roster, he can bring structure that rosters and teams usually wouldn't have. I think adding a player like Kixa, who has a lot of ability to him, but also the problem is he had a lot of support in element. He had Franklin, he had Vocal, constantly being droned in. And my question is now, is Sesh going to be able to give him that same support? You could have a mechanically nasty player, but if you don't give him that buildup, if you don't give him the info to work off of, that mechanical info only gets you so far.
And so far this season, specifically within Xenon, Kix has had a solid start. It hasn't been anything really to write home about, but it hasn't been too poor either. In week number 1, he took 7 different entry engagements. So he was involved in those opening fights quite a lot. That's why you pick up a guy like Kixa, especially after the showcase that he had in Element. And then in the most recent week as well, one of the lower rated players on the team, not struggling quite as much as TK, but still, not having a great game against Karn and Co. So a little bit of a slower start, but also something to be expected. Like you're talking about, you get subbed in on a team like Alex, and as the role that he got subbed in for, you're subbing in for Rival, who was the hard entry. Your teammates are smart enough to recognize, all right, I have no tier 2 experience. I may not be able to sub in as deep of a way or as deep of a role as like, a support or even just like more of a flex role. So they just let you gun. You're going to be in the prime position to make highlight plays and to land kills as long as you're mechanically talented enough. And there's no question that Kixa is that good. On this team now, you're probably going to see him, be asked a little bit more out of him. So maybe the numbers going down, but I'm looking forward to maybe seeing not just how the numbers go, but also just how the team gels in general. And so far through this season, you look at how Sesh have played in their first 2 games, and kind of like I hinted at with TK, it's been a lot of different performers through both games. When you look at the Karn & Co match, Cirx and Badger both had pretty good games in that one. TK, a very poor game, but TK in week 1 went 17-10. Cirx was also right behind him. Longtime teammate of Kixa, I'm assuming they came to the team together. But yeah, he and TK both having great games in week 1, with, the rest of them a little bit behind the curve. So it just goes to show that it feels like the team starting off pretty well to just like get used to each other. And I think this whole season is going to make a much better team out of them. I was just really excited in general to see them qualify, because it feels like the kind of team where it's a mix of players who've played in that T3 level before and people who are new and some exciting new faces that have a lot left to learn and a very high ceiling that they could very easily reach.
Yeah, and I think also this is a really good test round, not only for Kixa, but the rest of TeamSESH to test themselves in that entry department. JJ & Co. is a very aggressive team because they play loose. They don't have a set structure. They don't really have a set caller each round. It could be JJ. It could be somebody in Twitch chat. We don't know. And I think it's kind of a thing where you're going to see individual players be playing very aggressive, especially in that first 30 seconds to a minute of the round. And it's going to be up to Sesh to either, one, consistently prop up Kix in a place where he can shut down those entry engagements, or rather, like we saw in that game against Unity, have other players that can flex onto those positions, that can shut down those games. And honestly, in this current meta, especially in Tier 2 and Tier 3, you need that flexibility. I think Sesh, again, I've talked about their structure, but I haven't seen them be able to play a fluid playstyle to the level of other Tier 3 and then lower Tier 2.
You have to imagine this season is going to provide them the opportunity to do just that. And this game specifically going to provide them the opportunity to get very fluid, get very adaptable, because you don't quite know what's going to come out of BallSac Nation on the other side. So you got to be ready for anything. They were ready for anything last time, though. When these two teams faced off with qualification to XGS Season 8 on the line, TeamSESH 2-0'd BallSac Nation. That was in round number 4 of the Swiss qualifier for this exact tournament just about 2 weeks ago, maybe somewhere in between 2 weeks ago. It was 7-1 on Border, 7-4 on Bank. Lair, though, new territory between the two as we hop into BallSac Nation versus TeamSESH for our last game of the night.
I think this split for TeamSESH is really going to test them. I spoke about this all the way on the SSG game last week. When you bring yourself to a map that you know sides one side specifically, in this case the defense for Lair, you have to have a good plan, or at least some kind of system that allows you to at least get that 3-round threshold. Obviously, if a 2-4 is up on the board, it's not the end of the story. It's not horrible. But when you're taking yourself to a map, knowing you're more than likely going to be started on the least favorable side, you want to have something set up to try and get at least the buffer, 1 round over the average, which would be those 3 rounds. But again, I think a team like TeamSESH has the ability to come back. If they're able to go onto their second side, go down 2 rounds, I'm sure they're able to attack a couple more on, but they have to make sure that they're always having a foot in the door. They're making sure that they're staying in this game. As soon as you lose 2-3 rounds in a row, you want to make sure you don't let it spiral.
BallSac Nation going to start off very predictably on the second floor. I had said I'm not expecting a ton out of TeamSESH when attacking this site. No reason to expect any electrocution out, or electricity, the more appropriate word, out of BallSac Nation, though, thanks to those Bandit Kaid bans coming in. Those are going to be very relevant on this site, allowing TK to open up pretty much anything he can ask for. And that's going to be a good start. Got to bring a lot to try and deal with the Kiba barricades that are most certainly going to be there, and they are there coming into this round, though, so they've got space on the Flores. Probably going to pair that with the Deimos to maybe go underneath as well. It certainly looks like it'll go Operation, and that seems to be where Rival is getting met immediately. He's not backing down, though. Very aggressive, trying to shoot as many drones as he can before backing away. The Capital Fire designed to try and push him away. Very good util usage from TeamSESH is going to push Rival out, but that was a minute used to try and push off that very far forward position.
Yeah, I really like this adaptation with TeamSESH. You have that Blackbeard and the Blitz off the board. You still can bring up a Monty, but they rather choose to bring a lot of util and displacement utility. You have kicks on that Capital. We just saw displace that player being Rival. You also have Grim. Not exactly the same, but does reveal the position. You can even argue that Flores does the same. And this is purposeful utility brought in replacement of the shield. And so far it's worked, but it's just BallSac Nation playing very passive, making sure that they don't give TeamSESH any early gunfights they don't need to.
Continues to happen so far. They have moved Rival away from behind the desk, though, already. That's good. Very good progress to make as Cirx was downstairs hoping to maybe get a kill onto Rival down there, but JJ goes on a flank through the lobby to get that frag and then walk his way back up main stairs. Good trade for TK, though. Eventually Rival take it down, and actually the plant has started. TK locking it in. Smoke or not, he'll still stick it, and he'll still get back out as well. Only for a moment, though, because JJ shut him down, but JJ shut down himself as he tries to cross back into the site. Still only down, though, and the res actually happened, so still a 2-man advantage, now 3 for JJ and co. And although there were 2 kills on the cross for kicks, this Satex is going to make sure that you remember the name after round number 1. He'll get that last kill and the defuse to boot, and BallSac Nation will still win their second floor the first time around.
That's a really good round from TK, and something that I appreciate about them as a roster, their entirety existing under this TK IGL system is that when they have a plan in the early round, they fully commit to it, and a lot of the times they find success in some sense of the word. Obviously, you didn't end up winning the round, but getting that bomb down was the main objective, and then playing the post plant, that's where it all falls apart. I think, JJ and Co, a team, a roster that has a lot of experience, they know how to play, and also a lot of utility to get a safe place to defuse that. Really important. One thing I probably would have liked to see from TeamSESH there is maybe, have somebody going backside. There was no backside pressure whatsoever. Nobody over by Arsenal. Nobody even close to bathroom wide. There was a player playing on Windows. He eventually died. But you can't just have one player on the back pressure and then it all fall apart. But again, it's the first round. You said it's probably one of, if not the hardest bomb site to attack. So the fact that you even got the bomb down in somewhat of a winnable situation is a good sign.
It's like I said, you can't always attack the BallSac directly. You gotta hit the backside as well.
You do say that.
I always say that. I say, you've heard me.
I have. Multiple times. Time's my DM.
Down to the basement for round number 2. As BallSac Nation very content with how that first round went, and like you talked about, TeamSESH not really providing anything too out of the ordinary. Good util management to deal with some of the preliminary positions, but beyond that, it, felt pretty predictable. BallSac Nation knew exactly what was coming, and they were able to deal with it one step at a time. So this time around, TeamSESH probably not really making much of a secret as to how they're going to attack this site as well. Very clearly putting a lot of emphasis on taking that verticality first, as pretty much all the pressure they're putting on the map right now is towards that first floor. Maybe some phantom pressure near the basement, but we can also tell with that operator lineup as well. You got the Ram, you're very clearly going to want to go after that verticality.
Yeah, but I also really love this lineup from BallSac Nation. You have so much utility that you could just place in a couple of default plant positions and then you shoot them. I mean, for example, the Goyo canisters on AIM. Even now, Thorn having a lot more use after her most recent update or buff even. I think it's an ability to kind of displace that shield. Shield 6x, the first entry off the board. Zerk's going to take him off. That's a lot of that roam pressure and almost a lot of map space, especially over by this bathroom position. Already taken.
Badger not even given the kill for that, so that is basically a Badger entry that doesn't show on the scoreboard. It'll show as a Zerk's entry. But that is not happening without Badger, so really good play by him, and he's continuing to take a lot of space very fast. You can see the pings they've got on the Goyo cans. They know they need to take this space fast, because otherwise the Goyo cans are going to be a big problem later. Not to mention, you've also got the smoke canisters that'll present themselves as an issue later, but presenting himself as an issue now is Rival on the Thorn roaming around that first floor. You recognize that the one-man advantage and how close TeamSESH are to this site right now means they've got to do something to try and make this round a little bit better for the defense.
Yeah, TeamSESH have done a really good job at opening these lines of sights, making it hell for any of these defenders to swing these positions. So it's going to be that roam from Rival that is important. That's going to almost determine the round. He has to make sure that he's as proactive as possible.
Air jab on this doorway. It seems like he can hear it. He's getting swung, but he's so ready. And JJ was ready for Zerk's right before. So he and Space are going to go down right quick, one after the other. Kixa trying to walk in. Somehow dumpsters Ions off of that angle. Trying to get his team back into the round, but JJ takes him right back out of it. Badger trying to make an entry happen. He can only get one with the pistol. And TK will be his teammate's end, as well as meeting his own end. And that is a second round in a row for BallSac Nation.
I mean, again, it's just another good round from BallSac Nation of using their util. And there's just one thing that I really like, and I had a theory. As soon as I figured out, I think it's like 1.3 seconds activation as soon as a attacker walks over the Thorn Trap. I then wondered, especially if you have a shield chasing you, if you can almost use it as a pseudo impact. Obviously, instantly getting an explosion versus 1.3 seconds is a little bit different, but you notice two of those Thorn Traps in the pocket of Rival. I even saw one instance where he was running away from the player by Rocket after he got that first kill. He threw one above that half wall, and then in the last instance, in the bomb site, he threw another one over towards the direction of Monty. Obviously, it didn't have an effect, but it's kind of one of those plays where you're kind of testing the waters, seeing what this operator can do with this newfound ability. And again, I think if, maybe it's a shield chasing him, if there's a small enough distance, that 1.3 timer could make a world's difference. I think it has a lot more of a skill ceiling, a lot more ability to do a lot more things rather than just throwing it on a couple of places and hope it trips somebody.
Yeah, like a functional difference between some of the other operators in the game that are just kind of traps. Now, Thorn's kind of distinguished herself from the pack and very clearly already getting a lot of use, at least in this match. Rival makes good use of that, and the Uzi to participate pretty heavily in that round 2 win. TeamSESH doing a good job in the early rounds, I would say, getting what they want very fast, but they're not really taking much more than just what they want. That's leaving JJ and Co with a lot of space. And Lair is a big map. It would certainly take a while to literally clear the entire thing and set up air jabs on every single staircase. So Sesh seemingly trying to respond by just taking only what they need, the bare minimum. But that limits your ability to change things up later. It limits your lurk potential later on. It means all of JJ and Co, even if they're at a 4-on-5, can pretty much stare at 2 doorways and kind of know exactly what's coming as long as they've got, thorn traps or other passive info gathering on the other doors. So we've seen that 2 rounds in a row. Early on, things look good for Sesh, but it's a very predictable style of attack, and a team as smart as JJ and Co is going to be able to pick up on that every single time. And I feel like they've been adapting pretty well to what we're seeing out of Sesh, because what we're seeing out of Sesh isn't too far out of the ordinary. They're doing the ordinary very well, but that's exactly what a team like JJ and Co wants you to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what I talked about before we even got into the first round. Is I've seen Sesh. They can play that structured play. Their base set strats are at a high level, but when it comes to changing on the fly, having a different idea with 30 seconds. I mean, even in that round specifically, 1:30 on the board. You have all the control that you need. You know that Thorn is roaming around about 1:10. She got the kill, so you have to go chase her. Obviously, they didn't eventually get the kill, but there was nobody in a set position to go for the flank. You had Kixa, who had to run out of the map, roll around a trench, jump down, no drone, no support whatsoever. He swung. He was lucky he got that kill. Obviously, mechanical sense helped him there, but that's not a play that's supported. That's not a play that was planned as a backup B. Like, if we don't see the extra step after we get the extension, after we have those holds, what do we do next? And it's not kind of a sense where they have something backed up. It's just a player making the individual play that, sure, if he got that second kill, could have won them the round, but because there was no support, it was just based off of what could Kixa do in that position, and that's something that I'm worried about. We've seen him be put in these positions time and time again. That is fantastic. We know he can win them, but what can you build around it?
A wonderful question. We will have plenty of time to ponder. We had to rehost, and so we, the stream, will go to a quick break. When we come back, the rest of this map, our final map of the night between BallSac Nation and TeamSESH. We're back with hopefully more than like 1 or 2 rounds of this game before the next long technical pause. If we go to another one of those break screens again, I probably will just throw to another break without battery letting me know if that's what we need to do. But, you know, you said during the break, we're here to cast only 1 game, so they had to make it at least feel like it was 2. So, 2 rounds into this, it certainly feels like it hasn't been close. But TeamSESH at least showing a couple signs of life on the attack so far, and now they've forced BallSac Nation back to their tertiary site, so maybe a little bit of hope there.
I'm looking at this lineup from TeamSESH, and I'm wondering, what is the game plan? And then my second question is, after that game plan, are they going to stick to it? Obviously, they have both the Ace and the Thermite, so you can open that wall, but in order to get that plant down inside of bunks, especially like directly in front of the breach, you need to clear that top floor. Question now, is TeamSESH going to fully commit to that top floor, or are they just going to, you know, kind of pick at it for a couple, like 30 seconds to a minute, get a kill or 2, and then fall off? And I really hope they don't do that second option, because you really need full control to go for a safe.
Yeah, not really bringing a ton of utility. You have the IQ Ash combination that isn't really going to rock a lot that helps you execute onto the second floor. The IQ is definitely relevant this round. You're going into both a Solus and a Valkyrie, but in terms of like if you want to properly take control of the second floor above the objective, you know, maybe you could have, instead of the Ash, brought something to help you execute or help force some of these defenders away. They're already running into resistance. Not even outside of operation just yet, as Cirx is making his forward progress. If you had to run the R4C, you at least got to find something on the entry. And he may be around the corner from an engagement with Rival, whether he knows it or not. Drone's yet to really check on whether or not this master office is clear. And they have sent one in. It will spot Rival behind the desk, but he is very much still making his presence known within the master office, and only halfway through the round, they're only just now taking control of the office, starting to push up Mezzanine, pushing right into Satex, who's waiting for this fight, but he won't quite take it yet. He'll fall back and still not die.
And again, BallSac not giving any gunfights, not giving away any bodies that they don't need to. Falling behind this utility on the top floor, 2 minutes off the board, and they still haven't even started taking any gunfights on this top floor.
And Satex is going to recognize that. He just he's just letting it go. You're not going to press me out, then why am I going to stay upstairs? Rival is still going to stay up. Ions as well. It's 3 players still on this second floor, and Rival still being here means he can delay the breach a long time. He will get one, but he'll get taken down right after. And TK found another one just before it, so Sesh are still at the advantage, but they don't know that there's still a man in server. It's empty, still stuck in this spot, but he's the only one left. Sesh just rushed straight into the site. Yes, he'll kill one on the drop. He actually gets a second. He could maybe even shoot through the wall for more. This Glaive comes out to maybe find something else, but he will reload the Scorpion. He's got the case abandoned right in front of him, but Kiksa will strand him inside the site. None of his teammates alive to support means that even the 2-kill effort, not enough to get it over the line.
I mean, it worked. I was wondering if they're going to fully commit to that top floor, and the all-at-once flood at once, especially when I saw Rival with the DMR aimed down at 3 people, I was like, oh, it might be cooked. But the fact that that rush and that flood on the top floor worked was perfect. And yet again, you had a player playing on the roam, playing on the lurk, unbeknownst to the attack, just trying to time that flank correctly. We saw in the round just previous, for the last one we saw, it was Rival who timed it almost perfectly. In that round, 2v3, I believe, and then AIMT just allows, or 2v4 rather, and then just AIMT allows for it to, you know, snowball into a 1v4. At the same time, you could say that, you know, maybe BallSac doesn't give as much respect. They stay on the top floor. It doesn't work. But TeamSESH, they saw an opportunity in front of them. And that's the one round where, from the get-go, their game plan worked. Because they fully committed to it, even though they didn't have all the utility. That all-at-once flood on the top floor was just way too much for BallSac to deal with.
BallSac deals as well, so they've taken it off of the board. But really, the big impact of the Deimos this game was in round number 1. They played that second floor site. When you think about what that Deimos is doing, it's mainly there to try and flush out the Azami that's playing behind that. like TeamSESH. So kind of contradicting bans. They really wanted to make that a zombie power position kind of test for any power position that now powerful as something that makes it even more powerful taken away from BallSac into a very good attack. They're very easily finding even just a second round through these next 3 to get to a relatively even half, or equitable half, I guess is a more proper term for it. But for now, still trying to work their way into the building at all towards the second floor.
Yeah, very similar position here, being held by Saytech. Last time around, it was Rival, but still, yet again, another DMR. That smoke that scare him away, and with all of this displacement utility, especially the glass on the other side, that's a position that whether or not Saytech knows, he took the right play there. This is exactly what BallSac Nation, round in and round out, has been doing. They feel a little bit of pressure from TeamSESH, they give respect, they fall back. They don't force those gunfights and give any easy picks to TeamSESH. And so far, those entry picks have been really important.
Nothing yet for either side on the entries, though. As Rival's gonna sneak his way around the first floor, look for maybe something on the first floor moving up to the second, but Cirx is gonna run right by him up the main stairs. Empty, though. Aware of that gap in the defense, and he'll take the first pick because of his awareness. Glass smoke in, but before the Glass can make any progress, it's 2 at the C4 from below for Rival, though Kicks of the Glass himself got ahead of the C4 and got 2 kills to try and put his team ahead in the round, but he can only do so much. So it's left to just space on a lurk with a whole minute to go. Sesh clearly tried to go fast in this round, but maybe should have dotted their I's and crossed their T's just a little bit more, because a couple of gaps spotted out in that attack, and JJ and Co. take advantage to make it a 3-1 lead.
I really like that from BallSac. The only round that TeamSESH has won was a round where they just hit that go button all at once. They tried to do a very quick flood. BallSac Nation stayed in themselves. More than likely, that's the route they're going to try and take again. And this time around, they were more than prepared for it. The crossfire set up the positions from the defense. Unbeknownst only to TeamSESH, they weren't fully aware to take those gunfights. That's something that I really like about BallSac Nation. They're in this game. They're noticing the consistencies of TeamSESH, the repeated patterns that they're doing throughout this game, and then trying to read. This is what I was talking about in the pre-show, about the narrative that, JJ only trolls. That, to be fair, you were right. I did kind of set a little bit myself. But after watching them more and more, especially the JJ streams, it's kind of a sense where, sure, they aren't taking this 100%. Not like they're playing SSG, not like they're playing, C9 and the LCQ. But at the same time, they are trying to notice things and adapt to it, and kind of work on themselves individually as players and a team.
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, still money to be made off a league like this, right? Everyone walks home with a little bit of money, but, last place 75. I don't know if that's a refund of the invite fee or if you actually technically do profit off that. But regardless, up to $1,500 for first place. So something to think about no matter what. As BallSac Nation are again going to give it a go on the basement. They won this pretty convincingly last time. TeamSESH still going to rock the verticality to try and pressure from upstairs, but it's very clear they want to go with a different plan as they are attacking this map from pretty much all angles around the second and first floors. They didn't clear the entire map last time. It seems like that's something they want to do now.
Yeah, I really love the the ability, the effort from JJ or BallSac Nation to fully put themselves in these extensions, try and waste as much time. Again, just falling behind the utility. I mean, they're not going for these lurks aside from players like Rival. They're not aggressively trying to, put themselves in the faces of picking up these extensions, these crossfires, like the one being held here by Ions and JJ, and waiting for TeamSESH to fall into it. And with a player like Solus and Mozzie on the board, there's not a lot of information that TeamSESH can really work on.
Still a lot of information to be had on people on the first floor, though, as 3 of these defenders are still yet to fall back. The But Cirx is going to force one of them, not just to fall back to the site, but to fall out of the round entirely. Good trade, though, for Rival onto space. Cirx very low. He'll be lowered even still 6 feet as Ions is going to take him down. He and Rival both low at this moment, but it's very clear BallSac Nation starting to take over this round. The individuals on Sesh have got to find a response as TK and Badger, kind of the two pillars of Sesh. I'd imagine these two have been on pretty much every iteration of TeamSESH that's existed for quite some time, but Badger not going to exist for quite longer than that comment. He will only be down, though, as TK going to start to make a play. 45 seconds to go. He was slowed just a little bit. Case to be picked back up as well. And it's very clear that BallSac Nation are not too worried about the end of this round.
Badger low on health. They don't even have the defuser in their control. So you're gonna take it right here up here soon enough, or they might go for kill. 5 seconds. When you have one player that can watch that post plant, no real info off to work with either.
Couple flashbangs for the attack to work with. TK's got one in hand. He wants to try and go for this drop. Last Toxic Babe is popped as well, but TK popped as soon as he comes down the hatch. And Badger doesn't have enough HP to actually drop into the gas can. He does know where to expect one in the corner, and he got a kill just before. There's not really too much hype to build there because JJ and Co, they've got that round locked down.
And already, I know you're on it. It's not a rehost, so it's up to you. It
might be.
We can wait. It might be. We'll see. But again, it's just the info. And I think it's not only the problem of TeamSESH not getting that updated info. They took that position over inside of Armory. They understood that there was a crossfire. They got the opening kill. That is something that is continuously, not only in this match here, but in their previous matches, a very important factor, especially on whether or not they can win their attacking rounds. But then after that, they didn't have the updated info. They didn't know that Rival was there. They didn't know that even in the 2v4 that he was still on that top floor. Of course, they eventually got that refrag, but it's a sense where you have a Solus on the board. You got JJ and Amazi. This is something that JJ and Co, it's not a mistake. They noticed that info is a problem for Sesh, and they're trying to make it even more of one.
A lot of problems for Sesh so far tonight. Been quite the predicament trying to get into the map at all. Or really not get into the map, more so get into the site. Yeah. They've been making early progress pretty fast. They've been taking the first bits of map control that they want really quickly, but just never quite that easy to try and make their way through the entire map. You saw last round, it even felt like there were people coming in from the second floor at points, trying to make their entry felt there. They just can't lock down these JJ players, right? These BallSac players. They just can't get a firm grip on the sack. It just keeps shifting up where it's at. And it's become a big issue for TeamSESH. Clearly not prepared for the style of play they're seeing on the other end, which is crazy because in closed, they 2-0'd this BallSac Nation team. Granted, I don't know if it was the same 5 players, but effectively same team, same core of the roster. It was 2-0 on, I believe, Bank and Border. So it seemed like Sesh were going to be very prepared coming into this one, but seemingly not the case. They will have a little bit more time to prepare for round number 6 and beyond, though, because you'll never guess where we're going for the next God knows how long. I'll let Battery tell you where. We are still watching a game. It's not just Battery showing everybody how awesome his flyovers are, and the game is finally back. We got 2 rounds the first time, then a rehost, then we got 3, and now we're back for round number 6, and hopefully with the rest of the game uninterrupted, as it's been relatively competitive thus far, at least on a round-by-round basis, but BallSac Nation definitely still control the fate of this game, at least as of right now. TeamSESH, though, they won attacking on this site last time through. If they can get this round, they're certainly basically they've got a chance.
I like this Laz and Sens lineup, because when a lot of people saw this, to be fair, when it like first was used on this map, you just hit the site really quickly. But then teams realized that, oh yeah, we can also use this on the top. I hope, not only am I pretty sure that they're going to use this on the top layer, but I hope, because you can't just go for that flood. It's not going to work. BallSac Nation, they are ready. We talked about how last time they only had really like an Ash and IQ utility-wise, so already doubling up that utility. It also allows them, if they are able to go for that quick site hit, they have smokes, they have that Sens wall that can really block them and clear a path to get that bomb. But again, you really do need to at least try to get that top floor.
And I'd say they are doing that right now, even if it's just a little phantom pressure to make BallSac Nation think they're going after the second floor. There is an effort being put into the second floor of the map right now, such that even if they ran into this site later, BallSac Nation would need to think twice before they just blindly start swinging some of the holes they've made, as the gridlock tracks are not going to shut down JJ, as he will shut down Badger. The gridlock herself taken off of the board right quick, and Space barely missing the timing on catching JJ falling back to the site. That would have been a really good trade to get, and also nobody left inside of the site itself from BallSac Nation if Space had found that trade. Instead, it's a missed opportunity, an opportunity he's looking to take right now, but it seems like JJ ready for him. Prone inside the middle of the objective, so Space is going to back off for now and try and pair up with his teammates towards the second floor.
They don't have hard breach. Oh no, you can't open that wall inside a pillar. You can't open the breach wall. You have to clear the complete top floor. Pix is going to get an opening onto rival. JJ eventually somehow finds Space. TeamSESH in a 3v4. JJ still with a C4 in his pocket. It's all falling apart, and JJ finds another one from downtown. Cirx is off the board, and it's all over. Ions with 2 to finish it out. And again, as soon as I saw there was no hard breach, I was like, exactly, what is the plan here? And there wasn't really one.
Not only no hard breach, but no shields. That spot is so hard to push, that storage hallway. Near impossible to push if you don't have shields in the roster. They did have some angles to work with in terms of looking at BallSac Nation towards that second floor near our 6 room, but for the most part, it definitely just felt like they were lacking something. Everybody got stuck in that one hallway, and then it was just free eats for the BallSac Nation defense. 3 for JJ, 2, I want to say for Rival, but I can't remember exactly who found those kills. Ions, excuse me. But still, one more round for BallSac Nation, now a 5-1 lead. And you'd have to at least imagine that this is a bit far gone to make the comeback now. I do think Sesh still definitely has a chance, especially if they come out with a couple of really solid defenses, but you're going to have to win every single site once the first time around for me to really feel convinced, or I'd imagine for most people to feel convinced that this is going to be a Sesh comeback. Is BallSac Nation, aside from round number 3, have looked very in control of this game so far, and TeamSESH, at least on their attacks, didn't seem to be spicing it up enough for BallSac Nation to really ever get confused as to what the end goal of the attack was.
Yeah, I think also the timing. You know, not everyone really playing together on a T that round is honestly a problem that we haven't seen from Sesh in the rounds previous. Obviously, you know, we're now moving on to the defense, but that's a problem that can happen on defense, especially if they go for these heavy extensions. They have those Akiba barriers on kicks. They also have Badger who can play up in front because that blitz is still on the board. Probably be bringing plenty of smokes and flashes to in the pocket of Rival and AIM-T. So it's kind of a thing, if they can't have that fall, if they can't have that communication in that early round, it's also an opportunity that BallSac Nation can catch them early off in the defense.
BallSac Nation coming into round number 7 with a very unique attacking lineup. Laz, Raora, Striker. I mean, the striker's relatively normal. You could be bringing that for any number of reasons. It seems to be hard breach and also just the added bonus of nades as well. But the Glaz-Raura combination doesn't seem to be one that has a lot of synergy. At least not just in theory when looking down a lineup. They've certainly got a plan for it, though, as JJ. You were talking about it during the break. He's an entry IGL. He loves to get active. At least when he has things his way, especially on this team, he's going to get as active as anybody. He's got the R4C, trusting himself, taking all that first floor control that his team could want. No Deimos, no problem. He'll be the one putting pressure on the site from below already, using a breaching round underneath.
Honestly, I don't hate this. I mean, he's the player that's calling out the first main point of objective is getting this mirror off the board, and then he does exactly that himself. They also back it up with a ace charge to open the wall. They close off the door with the Raura. This is a really good opportunity, but it looks like they actually tricked it at the same time. Maybe they shot the ace charge, but nonetheless, this is going to slow down BallSac Nation for the time being. A minute 20 to play with, also still plenty of utility. They are going for that plant over by the master position.
And that much is clear. Obviously clear to TeamSESH as well as Badger shuts down JJ, seemingly trying to walk up the main stairs. Badger's having none of it. The rest of the attack pretty much all coming from the same positions. 3 of them are in the same room, as it was Anti, Satex, and Rival just a moment ago, all stuck inside of operational. Ions is the one on the breach, so they do have some good crossfires, but what do you have in terms of utility to sneak into the site with? 2 smokes, one on Empty, one on Satex, to try and sneak in and maybe get a plant down. But still, 3 C4s on the Sesh defense in the first one that gets popped. Pops half the remaining attackers, and the next 2 fall right after. TeamSESH needed basically a flawless half to get back into this game, and they're going to start the only way they should, with a flawless round.
We saw Ions in the very first round complaining about the smoke, and you talked about how, and I think I also talked about how TeamSESH, they're kind of one-dimensional on their attack, but in that round, from the get-go, as soon as they open that wall, as soon as there's pressure down below from Ash, you know exactly where that plant's going down, and even in that sense, they weren't able to do it as well as Sesh. They never even got that bomb down. And it's kind of a sense where I'm really hoping BallSac Nation does not play as one-dimensional, as structured as that, because it's kind of a situation where you have JJ on Ash. You're not playing behind a structure every single round, round in and round out. He's now playing on the Deimos, continuing to really push the pedal on that, so we'll see how much success if he has, whether or not he's going to be a Karn or a Merc. We'll see. You never know. They're not the best players. But yeah, I think it's kind of a thing where you just need to play flexible. Allow a player like Rival to not just hold an angle for about a minute and 30 seconds. Let him move around the map. You need to enable your players in what they're good at.
Wall secured.
Sesh gonna, as of right now, go through the same site progression that BallSac Nation went through, and the same progression that most teams will go through. Starting on that second floor, you go down to the basement right after. A lot of angles into the basement that the attackers can work with, but just gathering all the control across the map can be really tough. Seems like BallSac Nation not going to bother themselves with control of the map. They're just going to go right at the site. At least 4 of these players starting towards Warehouse. Leads me to believe is going to be more of a direct take. A lot of members on TeamSESH running all across the map. You got a soulless Mozzie Vigil defense, so it's very clear that you wanted to try and control a lot of different spots. And JJ, salty about dying to the M590 last round, is going to bring his own into this round, possibly win the duel against Badger. Towards Stockroom. JJ trying to sneak his way in. Yet to find too much already. I don't know how on earth that ended up there, Empty. Something went horribly wrong. And it is very clear this is going directly at the site, but JJ, no more luck this time. Once again, the first pick at the wrong end of Badger's shotgun.
Back-to-back entry kills for TeamSESH on the defense, and both of those kills are going to be on to JJ. Ions on the Blackbeard, probably one of the best Blackbeard players in Tier 2. What can he do here? He doesn't have the defuse in his kit, so more than likely going to be the main aggression in this point of round for BallSac Nation. Deimos off the board, so no more info from that, but you still do have Rival. Could potentially pick somebody off, but Rival actually finds space. Ions is down by Cirx. Cirx with 2!
Really nice double up for Cirx. And a round that almost got opened up by Rival, very quickly shut down right thereafter by the Vigil, or rather by the smoke. I think actually one of those kills was Badger's, but either way, The SAS duo of the defense making quick work of this attack. The moment they see them, they're gone. And with a minute to go, Rival and Ampty gonna have to try and work through this together. Kixa is looking down towards the site from briefing, so maybe Rival could try and hit him from this side, but it looks like Ampty and Rival going to opposite sides of this site. Rival hoping his lurk through filtration isn't heard until he makes it very obvious to hear, and TK quickly gets his round shortened just a little bit. Now Ampty can start to sneak in if they won't expect him from this side, but they certainly still do. It's a third kill for Badger, and it's a 3 versus 1 for Rival to try and contend with. They've still got Kixa upstairs. The flashbang forward didn't quite get as far as he wanted it to, and Cirques is going to make it all 5 to the British defenders. 3 for the Mute, 2 for the Smoke, and 1 more round for Sesh.
I was wondering where you were going with that. That's nice. I like that.
Thank you.
Like, British defenders. Don't want to TeamSESH is British. I hope not.
Well, no, that's the SAS ones are from Britain. Yeah.
But I really like this round. I like these 2 previous rounds from TeamSESH because they're consistently playing with confidence to try and hold space as much as possible. Rival just shutting down players, but TeamSESH, they're not scared to play away from these roamers.
That guy folded.
Lurking
He has folded that guy like a table.
And I think that's exactly what you need. Is not only folding the other team, but kind of not folding under their pressure, per se. Ion staring in the face with the shield. You do not give him the respect. And that's what I love. That's a problem that a lot of tier 3 players have on the defense, is that they give way too much respect to a solo Blackbeard and give him space that inherently, if you just have one player playing in his face, he can't take. And that's that confidence that they need to ride on in these last couple of rounds of the defense.
It's certainly starting to build, though. That confidence for TeamSESH, they're getting it. Round by round, little by little. That confidence they need to really make this comeback happen. 2 rounds in already. I had said before this half even got started that they needed to win all 3 of the sites in their repertoire the first time around, or really think that this was a possible comeback. They're already 2/3 of the way there, but now this is the most difficult step, and it's a step that BallSac Nation are going to make as difficult as possible by putting a lot of fast pressure up on this second floor. You're not rocking this attacking composition to take your time and smell the roses. Somebody must have gifted enough subs to get a rush out of BallSac Nation, because it looks like that's kind of what they've signed up for in round number 9. They're taking a while before they make it happen, but as soon as the surge goes, it's heavy pressure on Kixa immediately, and there is nobody there to back him up. Though Space eventually there to trade him out. Space himself could easily get traded, though Satex spots too and thinks better of swinging around. Instead, he'll let Ions pitch in for the next one. Space needs to get away with something, but he hasn't done it just yet. He will manage to run one down in the hallway, but the trade is instant from Rival. He's even ready for another from Storage. But Satex not quite ready for TK, who gets his team back into it. The SMG-12 just around the corner loses that fight, as TK could very easily clutch this up. The IGL, coming off of quite a poor performance in his last game, did still drop 17 in week number 1. And he's got the case right next to him. Everything he could possibly want to work with, and that is what happens when you let him off the leash. 1 versus 3 for TK, and Sesh have stepped up to the challenge of winning their first site every single time through.
1 in 10 for his last matchup, if you were not aware. He tripled that in that round alone. Something I talked about to you in the tech break, one of our 3 tech pauses that we had, is that TK is an IGL that loves to play aggressive, whether it's in that mid-round on the lurk/roam or if it's in the entry engagement. And I said it has mixed results. I even said that sometimes you're a JJ or you're a Merc on a wildcard all the way back in like 2023. But the point of the thing is it's kind of hit or miss. It's not a consistent playstyle, and it's a reason why not a lot of IGLs play it. But it's what TeamSESH needs, is somebody to get active. Kix is being shut down consistently, especially in those entry engagements, unless you're playing against JJ. But in that situation, the LMG paired up with the Blitz, hitting a small position rather than an entire large position, just focusing on that one tiny detail, that being the mirror inside of connector, was fantastic. And then TK able to clean it up. And it's exactly what they need. And hopefully, they don't build off their entire defense off of that. They need something else. But when you need somebody to count on, if you're IGL there, stand for it.
Nothing better than being able to call your own number as an IGL. Not only do you feel in control of the strats, right? You feel the most responsible, the most weight on your shoulders when you're the one calling. That can be a lot of stress, especially when you feel like you're not stepping up to the table. That can get even worse. That same kind of stress that TK felt in their game number 2 on this season against Karn & Co, certainly not feeling it here. That's lifted off his shoulders after round number 9. Only one round down on BallSac Nation coming into the 10th. And they're on a streak. 3 rounds in a row, they get to go back to their favorite defensive site. And BallSac Nation with a lot of questions to answer in terms of how exactly their attacks need to work. Ions will be back on the Blackbeard into round number 10 to try and make some forward progress.
Yeah, TeamSESH choosing not necessarily ego, but themselves that Ions on the Blackbeard so far has not been a real threat. Another instance where Ions is completely alone. No drone in front of him, no real utility. He does have Rival right by his side, but that Thorn could be in his backside and slow him down on top of that. Ion's so low on health. A very pivotal position right outside the bomb site. Don't want to expose yourself to the left again. He sees the player. No real made progress. Surfs and Badger double up. Pixel with 3. BallSac falling apart.
Badger goes down though, so Rival could bring this back. But those angles were so perfectly played by TeamSESH. That's what all those scrims are going to do for you. You know the order of operations. You know who swings when, where, and why. But you don't know why Kixa gives himself up to Satex. There are still errors that can be made when you scrim that much. And Satex is going to try and bring his team back into this round. 2 kills in a row for BallSac Nation, but the case is abandoned, relatively far from Rival. He'll probably need to pair up with Satex. Either that, or just bank on being gifted one-on-ones. But there are players on this side of the map trying to play off each other. The onus probably has to be on Satex to make a play, especially now that his only remaining teammate has gone down. Space is going to shut down Rival. Satex has snuck himself into a wonderful default plant spot if he had the diffuser. Now that he doesn't, it's just another way into the site that has kind of been abandoned by TeamSESH. They recognize their new win condition. Play around that diffuser. Try and make it awkward to advance into the site. Fire a couple of shots from server, have him preoccupied with that angle, drop down the hatch. Don't even waste your life. Just make sure he wastes time. And that engagement's still going to happen towards the very end on this Space. Space takes that frag. And for the first time all game, we are tied. After BallSac Nation, we're up 5-1.
I mean, just like you talked about, it is fantastic. These defender positions, these crossfires they're setting up. But more importantly, something that I haven't heard either of us talk to, round in and round out, consistently, it is BallSac Nation playing into these setups, playing into these extensions, these crossfires like we just saw in the round previous. In that time, playing right into the face of TeamSESH, something that they did not do on their defense. They are 1 in 4 on the entry. I talked about how that was a major factor for TeamSESH in previous games and how it more than likely was going to be a factor in whether or not they were going to have success here on Lair. And so far, 5 rounds in a row, that has been that leading man for TeamSESH. Obviously, there's a lot of problems that BallSac Nation themselves have, but it's this consistent structure that is being stood up like a tower that BallSac Nation is unable to take down.
Still yet to take it down once. And what looked like a poor start from TeamSESH at the beginning has just turned into a defender-sided lair.
Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed that the team that doesn't scrim would have trouble attacking onto a pretty defender-sided map against a team who scrims quite a lot? But even still, SESH struggling on their own defenses. That BallSac Nation that was just let loose. We're going commando. BallSac could fly wherever it wanted to. Looking very repressed now. And then coming into round number 11, they've got to start to get some of that freedom back and try and let loose those individual players. But SESH are just keeping it so close to each other. They're not really giving them the chance, not really leaving the gaps in those defenses.
Yeah, you can already see the stark contrast of JJ on this BB versus Ions. JJ taking a lot of space completely on his own, as aggressive as possible, and no one from the defense really meeting him in the face. I'm just kind of playing back. You also have a couple of players, 2 of them, roaming away from the bomb site, setting up that vertical, allowing for BallSac Nation to know that there is a threat above. Badger tucked in the corner. Is JJ going to be aware of this position? Is he just going to full sprint?
Look at Satex though, sneaking in through stock room, and look at JJ sneaking right into the site. Not even a sneak at all. He goes loud and he goes huge, starting to make up for some of those entry deaths towards the start of this half. Has 2 opening picks for his own team, and they get right into this site, wasting 0 time at all. TK does find 1, but all that serves is to make it not flawless, because this is a BallSac Nation round all the same. Space struggling to get past the track stingers, and the moment he breaks enough to make a path empty, won't even let him take it. JJ and co back just in time. As soon as the game gets tied up, they come back to life, and they're up 6-5.
Just in time indeed. Yet again, I talked about how consistently BallSac playing into his extensions of TeamSESH. Another instance where you had a very heavy roam presence on that first floor, but BallSac Nation reading that bomb site, specifically Satex and JJ, and understanding if there's a gap that I can take here. JJ taking that ego chow and winning it. That's something that had a little bit of a problem with Ions in the round previous. Not playing as aggressive on that shield, not using literally a shield with an AR, and then JJ taking it, he's like, let me show you how a pro does it, and exactly what he does. And I think it's kind of a thing where, you know, entry stats kind of are, you know, a little bit misunderstood. Even if you go 0-3, which exactly JJ did in his first 3 engagements, if you're able to have a huge impact round like that, get your team to match point, I mean, those previous stats didn't really matter that much.
It still mattered a little bit. Yeah. I mean, they're having, it's like a nonchalant off between Space and Ions. Like, yo, I like low-key care so much less about this game than you do, bro. Like, genuinely. Like, you don't care, but like, I care even less than that, bro. I'm like not trying at all. That's crazy, bro. Bro, I hope you win. It means so much more to you than it does to me right now. You low-key deserve it, man. Still, BallSac Nation gonna come into round number 12. Looking as strong as ever. The momentum is back. JJ back on the Blackbeard, though no finger boost this time, so he won't be able to ADS so fast that it kind of looks unfair. But still, he will be clearing that path for his teammates behind him. He'll have to hope that it's much more like round 11 and nothing like the rounds before that. Because pretty much every round on attack other than that, he's been dying very early on and stranding his teammates behind him. As he sprints past the Thorn Grenade, he's not going to take that death quite yet.
It is going to slow him down for a bit. It's also going to relay to the rest of the defense that there is indeed a Blackbeard here. A nice little adjustment there. Understanding that Blackbeard previously in this position took a lot of map control very early on, just using that to slow him down. Not really stopping this push from BallSac, but kind of slowing them down, making sure that they take that extra step precaution, getting that extra bit of info. AimT getting really aggressive over by the site, trying to find a pick on the surf. When if you don't, it is important, but the cross setup by Ions is perfect. That's the opening for BallSac Nation, and essentially, that's almost map control too if they can play around this vertical.
And that's what TeamSESH were missing last time they attacked this site. In round number 6, there was no direct pressure on it. Those crossfires that already put so much pressure on Cirques weren't there. This is what enables you to find picks on the players on this site, but that doesn't mean your mission is accomplished just yet. You've still got to get in there, and those players up top cause quite a headache once you try to get into the objective itself. Even easier though, when you take more of them away. Ions is going to get a second one down. 2-man advantage now for BallSac Nation. Still yet to clear out that second floor though, but it just doesn't matter if you clear out literally everyone else. TK alone upstairs, nothing to do about it. BallSac Nation, wait until the last moment. Ever the showman is JJ, but he'll still take his maximum point victory in regulation all the same. 7-5 on layer for BallSac Nation.
Yeah, really fantastic showing there from TeamSESH, especially on that defense. But JJ and Co just rallying through and understanding that if we just ram shields in their face, they probably can't deal with it. And that's exactly the answer. Almost down, almost going to overtime, but 2 rounds in a row for JJ and Co. And again, it's kind of that thing I've talked about, a problem in tier 3 and tier 2 is the inability to just cheese it. And that's something that JJ and Co, JJ specifically, has been working on with his roster in the LCQ in tier 1. And something that they showed in those last 2 rounds is just simply just cheesing it, man.
Just cheesing it. And much like that burp snuck off on me during my last call, the end of the day has snuck up on us already. Only 3 games to play today, so that's the last one that we've got. BallSac Nation are able to take a nice win and bump themselves up in the standings. We do have the standings for you just before we go, which will be up in just a moment, so you guys can get the bigger picture as to how the league on the whole is looking so far. But BallSac Nation still undefeated through their first 2 asterisk games. Unity also undefeated, but with 2 of those wins coming in OT, it looks like BallSac Nation run this league so far.
Yeah, and it's kind of a thing where you have Orglis coming into this, a question mark of, are they going to be able to still be a top 4 tier 2 team? Right now, they're in that elimination bracket. The rest, TeamSESH, Sens Guns, Carnico, SSG Academy, playing for, you know, that play-in spot, or not play-in spot, but the lower seed spot. And BallSac Nation Unity, honestly, those are the 2 teams I'm looking at that you have to take down. Those are the 2 big dogs through these first 3 games.
Yeah, it's looking like it'll be quite the season to come. BallSac Nation still having shown that they can be beaten at least on a round-by-round basis. They're certainly not necessarily the Titans they may look to be, as they only won the qualifier to get here in Swiss. They only went 3-2 in that, so still always opportunities to upset them. I will say, though, Unity yet to lose anything thus far. They went 3-0 in closed quals, definitely had the harder schedule, the 2 3-0 teams, and thus far, since getting into the league, they've won 3 games, and they've been some pretty convincing wins. You already beat Sesh earlier on this season. You beat Karn & Co., who up to that point had won both of their first 2 games. You also 7-2 Orglis. So I'm looking out for Unity if I am one of the teams in this league. I personally, as a spectator, am looking out for Unity to maybe be the favorites for the season to come. But still plenty more XGS action coming at you tomorrow and through the rest of the season. You can check us out on Wikipedia if you'll be interested. But for tonight, that's all. For myself, Goose, and everybody else who observed and casted for you tonight, thank you so much for tuning into tonight. And we will see you tomorrow on XGS Season 8.